Welcome to this emergency broadcast of Till Death Do Us Blart, a podcast that will last for all time, where 5 men bestow onto the next generation the responsibility of watching Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. We are in unprecedented times, which means we have taken unprecedented action and watched Paul Blart Mall Cop 1 outside of American Thanksgiving. My name is Tim Batt. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves, eldest first.
Oh, I thought you said Elvis for a second.
My name is Justin Elvis McElroy, and I am the oldest of the McElroy brothers.
My name is Travis Patrick McElroy, and I am the middlest of the McElroy brothers.
Guy, how fucking old are you?
31.
Then it's really.
How old do you think I am?
I thought you were old. It's maybe the mustache.
I thought you were old.
I thought you were somewhat older than me. I just turned 33, and my name's Griffin McElroy. I'm 2 years closer to death than Guy Montgomery, who's about to introduce himself.
No. There's no fucking way that's accurate, Griffin.
You know,
how Guy lives.
It's interesting, Griffin. I think you are accurate. I think you would definitely die before me. But
If everything goes to plan.
yeah, I've always thought that I was older than you as well.
Well, here we are. We're all learning a lot today.
We are.
About
Also,
ourselves.
I'd like to say, Tim, what a fantastic intro, and also what a shitty way to find out that our podcast does not presently pass the Bechdel test. Not until some of us start dropping off can we remedy this egregious error.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is true. I also like that it seemed like, Tim, you had to think for a second about how many of us there were.
I truly did.
Sound like there was this.
I mentally counted.
Okay.
I wish there was a third one of you, just for the parody of it being 3 of us and three New Zealanders. So if you could like pull in a third.
Is Taika Waititi free? Is he available?
Can you get him, or what's up?
I don't have a direct line of contact to Taika, and
Not through
were I
the
to-
embassy, or
He's got to be around.
Yeah. He's probably got a bit of time on his hands presently, but sadly, that doesn't change my point of connection to him, which is nil.
okay.
I've been in quarantine for 5 weeks now, something like that, about that, 5 weeks. My brain's desperate for any new stimulus that I can get. And I still thought that the movie Paul Blart Mall Cop 1 stunk on ice. I prepared some thoughts. I emailed you guys sort of an essay
Yeah, no.
while I was watching it.
Can I do a dramatic reading?
Yeah.
Fuck this movie.
Fuck this movie. Yeah. This is a real. This made me. I don't know. Okay. I want to do a quick poll. And I know some people have seen it, some people have not. Did it make you kind of weirdly pine for Paul Blart Mall Cop?
Fuck yes.
It made me not only love Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, it made me feel a certain warmth and acceptance of this literal lifelong project we all have endeavored ourselves into. Because I realized, like, oh my God, like, is Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 good?
Because it's like if you became friends with someone like as an adult and you're like, man, this person's the coolest person, and then they like showed you pictures of them in high school and you're like, oh fuck, I'm so glad I waited till adulthood to meet you.
I think the analogy is accurate, but it's more like if you met someone as an adult and you thought, okay, and then they showed you pictures of the journey they'd traveled on to become that person. You thought, fuck, you turned out pretty good, all things considered.
Can I address my own personal elephant in the room of my current recording setup, because it is important?
Sure, yeah.
I lost power today, like to my entire block of Transformer Blue at like 4 p.m. So it is currently 9:30. I've been without power for 5.5 hours. So in order to watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 1, I had to do it over 5G on my phone and went drastically over my data usage for the month. Today was the last day of the month. And so 3 times whilst watching it, I was getting emails from AT&T like, hey, you're going over again. Now
Are you
you're over
fucking
again.
sure you want to keep watching Paul Blart Mall Cop 1? That's kind of like when I went over limit on my credit card in college and bought a $38 bag of Fritos.
Yes. And
How fucking big was this bag of chips?
no, it was a
Well,
regular
no.
bag, Timbo, but it was with the overage fee.
Yeah, I got an
juice.
overage fee on it. And so it was it ended up being a very expensive bag of Fritos that I bought.
So currently I'm sitting here with a battery-operated camping lantern.
Right.
And I am connected to my phone via hotspot. So even now, discussing this with you guys is still using that extra I am spending so much money to watch and discuss Paul Blart Mall Cop 1 with you, my friends.
Just like our grandpas used to watch and review Paul Blart Mall
Yes.
Cop.
Guy, this is your first trip down to the Paul Blart Mall Cop 1. It was mine as well. I think it was Griffin's.
Oh, yes.
What did you think of this movie, bud?
Oh man, I'm very firmly in the same camp as you, and thinking that it is far inferior to Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. You know, it sort of walked so Blart 2 could run. By the end of it, was sort of trying to write out a list of what exactly defines the Blart franchise. Mm-hmm. I got to two things, which is segways
Yes.
and a distaste for people who aren't thin.
Boy, I would say this movie is maybe even worse.
Yeah.
I've never seen a movie that, and I'm saying this as a fat gentleman myself, I've never seen a movie that hates fat people as much as this movie
That
hates. I've
falls
never
back
seen
on it as shorthand for, I don't know, humor, character trait. It's like a code of fat shaming
yeah,
of like,
it's ju-
we are to both judge Steve Ranziz, who a name I can't pronounce, Stewart, I think is his character name, for being mean to Paul Blart because of his weight, but also we see the movie wanting us to laugh about people's weight too.
Yeah, it wants to have its cake and eat it too, which could be a joke in Paul Blart Mall Cop 1.
Yeah.
Right. It's
If
so
you want to
funny.
write it down.
So those were to my eyes the two binding agents that sort of tie this entire franchise together. Actually, that, and I kept a running tally of laugh lines, and there was one line that didn't get a laugh, but I sort of was trying to
Just
figure out
one.
why exactly it was in there. Yeah, only one of the jokes didn't land phenomenally, which was when Paul Blart walk over inside of a rainforest cafe. He has a gas tank of some description, and he says "scuba dooby doo."
And so just to be clear, you didn't laugh at that line, but you wanted to take note of the fact that you were unsure as to why you didn't laugh at that line.
Yeah, I was just like, why is this in the movie? And the only conclusion I
it's
could draw
genius.
is that it's to show us that both the Flintstones and Scooby Doo, the cartoons, exist in the Blart universe.
Let me just tell you where I'm at. Is I was thinking about that, and then I was trying to think of jokes that didn't land for me in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and I was about to say, well, it sounds like the Chicken Chow Lane of this movie, but then I sort of chuckled at Chicken Chow Lane, and I was like, I don't know if that's because of the pandemic. I don't know if that's because of the global pandemic or because of Paul Blart Mall Cop 1, which is not a good movie.
I will say this. Before I tear it down a little bit more, I was thinking while I was watching it, like, this isn't funny. I'm not enjoying it. But I think when they were making this movie, I don't think they ever said to themselves, this is so funny that if there's a global pandemic going on, people will still be laughing at it. It's so
That's
funny
fair.
that people push people through that. I laughed exactly once out loud at this film.
me
And
too.
I'm not super proud of it, but there's one moment where Paul Blart.
You're laughing about it now. You can't even.
I am still
tell us
laughing about it, thinking about it. It's a moment where he is leaping from one car to another during a high-speed chase, and he leaps from one car to another, and he overshoots. He overshoots it, and he just falls onto the side of the road. And the way they shoot it, it looks like somebody's disposing of his body. He's just rolling down a dirty hill, and that is the only. only one that got me. Everything else falls absolutely flat.
To give a little context for that, anyone listening at home who has not watched the movie, and you should not, that moment comes an hour and 20 minutes into an hour and 30-minute
yeah,
movie.
it could have just beat me in a submission.
Can we establish, just to like set the tone, because I feel like this may be a good bellwether of like what was it's hard for me to decide what the funniest part of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 is. It's certainly up between the brown banana scene or him punching the elder.
Oh, there's also the bird scene. There's also
Bird
the
scene,
Tranquility
bird fight.
Garden.
Okay,
I
but
can't
like
just sit here and talk about how funny Paul Blart.
for me, if I'm thinking about it, Paul Blart Mall Cop, I tittered at the scene where he gets drunk and touches the man's face a lot. I enjoyed that a little bit.
That's in my 6 laugh lines when he rubs the air and he says, twist it, feel the nub.
Feel the nub is good. The only other one that got me was his mom at the very beginning of the movie is helping him put together an online dating profile and listing things about him. And of course, they are sad things. And the comedic timing she possesses, as he says, I know a lot about sharks, and she just immediately goes, "I'm going to stop you right there." I thought that made
fucking slayed me as well. It was because this weirdly, Paul Blart Mall Cop 1 is kind of the tale of two movies. Because the first half of it is basically before all of the SWAT stuff happens, when the mall actually gets invaded by band members from Sum 41. Everyone's giving these totally naturalistic acting performances except Kevin James.
Yes.
And it just feels like Kevin James is operating in the real world, but he himself is a buffoonish cartoon character. And it makes for quite a surreal, it's almost like satire in a way. It's fucking wild.
It's really weird. There's a bizarre disconnect, and I think it occurs a little bit in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, but I feel like this is gonna sound stupid, but there is a funny version of this movie and this franchise, honestly, where there's just any consistency to the character of Paul Blart, where they just decided what he is like and who he is, and that's his character in the film. I'll give you this one. This is the one that killed me. This guy is all about like going by the book. He's giving people citations for minor shit. He is an absolute buttoned up, like, play by the rules stickler for every different thing.
He's a tight cannon.
Yes. What? I'll take your word for it. I agreed with that, knowing what you said.
He's a tight cannon, you see.
When eventually the mall does get taken over by terrorists, what happens is this guy, or I guess they're not technically terrorists, they're thieves. When the mall gets taken over by thieves, he's just playing a Guitar Hero on Black Friday in some arcade. He's just absolutely fucking around on the busiest day of the year that he has like discussed openly is like going to be such a big deal for him, and he needs to have eagle eyes. And when the place gets taken over, he's just fucking around playing Guitar Hero, and there's no consistency to this guy whatsoever.
And we see the same thing. The moment that really bothered me the first time I watched it and this time is like in the middle of like, I gotta stop these bad guys. He's like halfway through rescuing them all. He's like, oh yeah, it's her birthday. I'm gonna break into the Hallmark store by smashing the door.
No consistency to the guy.
Yeah. I love that these are the problems you guys have with the consistency of this character and not with the fact that he fucking car bombs a rainforest cafe.
Oh, yeah.
That is wild. That is wild.
There is one terrorist in this movie, Justin, and his name is Paul Blart, the mall cop who blew up the rainforest cafe.
And he also maims a dog with a Segway in the opening moments of the film.
Dog.
Nothing to endear you to a protagonist like a dead dog on the way to work. I will say this in terms of counterbalancing your criticisms of its lack of consistency. One consistent thread that I did quite enjoy that almost ties in with Tim's point that Paul Blart is operating in a different film from the rest of the characters is I really love the incredulity with which literally everyone else in the movie treats Paul Blart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like he is a menace to everyone around him, even those who love him.
It's like the subtext of every line of dialogue delivered to Paul in response to something he said is, what the fuck are you talking? Why would you say that? but everyone has that same attitude to him.
But they don't say it openly. It's almost like they. This is good. This is a little too high concept for Paul Blart, but not for Till Death Do Us Blart. It feels like they know it's his movie, and they're afraid that they'll get kicked out of it.
Yes.
They're afraid that if they run afoul of the character Paul Blart, they'll be removed from the movie Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Permission granted.
I attempted to discuss this on this year's episode of Till Death Do Us Blart. But now that you guys have seen it, I would like to attempt to bring it up once more, which is this movie, I think, is attempting to be an homage of Die Hard. But do you see now what I mean of, like, this is just a ripoff of Die Hard? Like, it's not an homage enough to the point where I was watching it this time and picking up on, like, the Steve Ranzizi character is clearly the, like, coked up salesman guy from Die Hard. And it's like, go through, it's like they just changed names and just said, like, we'll just make this a little sillier. So it's not like a parody, but it's too much.
It's a pastiche.
Who wants to inspirationally take a hit?
Recapping the plot, it's fucking Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. We've talked about this movie before. It's Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, almost beat for beat. Maya is endangered at one point, his daughter. We learn a little bit more about her origins, that he was married to an undocumented immigrant, and then she got green card status from their marriage and then dipped. And that's funny. That's fucking funny. And and then she gets endangered at one point. Thieves like take over the fucking mall at one point. Which, by the way, their setup makes fucking Neil McDonough look like Danny fucking Ocean.
What is Neil McDonough's character name? Because I was trying to remember
Vincent.
it. Like Vincent. Because I do want to at some point for us to engage in a discussion of Vec versus Vincent.
Vec versus Vec.
Griffin. You are missing one big element, which is different from Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and that is romance. In Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, there's the joking thing about the woman, like the concierge, having a thing for Paul Blart. In this, there is a character named Amy who Paul Blart is just head over heels for and attempting to woo. And here's the thing that got me watching it this time. She likes him in the beginning, and he fucks it up by getting drunk at like a company party. But she's like clearly flirting with him.
Not just getting drunk though. Like he basically sexually harasses her for an extended period after downing 2 big jugs of margarita in the midst of a disgusting nacho eating contest with Quincy from Old School. And then he falls backwards through a window while saying, "I believe in magic," which, whilst funny, was like definitely disqualifying for any future romantic engagements. But he just keeps harassing her.
You've touched on so many things I want to talk about there, namely that I believe in magic and the shirt ripping off fall through window was a big laugh line for me. Secondly, the nacho eating contest was so disgusting. I actually wrote down that I feel like we don't deserve, when all of this global situation is over, parts of this movie made it feel like we don't actually deserve to go back out into the world and behave as we once were.
Hey, can we talk about the nacho eating scene? Because, baby, rip it. It was so fucking long. The nacho eating contest that he has with one of the coworkers at the mall is so long. And not only that, what nauseated me about this scene is that the nachos were so Spartan and dry. They were just stuffing their face with dry tortilla chips. And in that moment, I parted the veil of this movie and saw the, like, props director of it not really giving a shit because it's a Happy Madison picture, and so they just like didn't get very much cheese, and so it's just these 2 men eating fistfuls of dry chips at a time, which is so much grosser than the alternative because it's there's something hamster-like about it. It was dehumanizing.
But then also the guy, what's his name, Leon, I think, the guy who's Quincy from Old School, he keeps smack talking him with his mouth full in the middle of a competitive eating contest, which A, isn't smart, and B, just made me want to barf. It was so gross.
Hey, did you guys... Hey. Hi, my name is Justin McElroy. Real quick, who do you guys think is the female lead in this movie?
Oh, it's
Amy?
The actor's name, or...
Yeah, actress. Yeah,
her name is Jama something.
All right, I spent this entire fucking flick thinking that was Anna Faris. I just had a real moment.
Yeah,
that was rough. That was
Anna
rough.
Was Anna Faris also in the Scary Movie franchise, or was that just?
No, that was Anna Faris.
Okay. Man, who can? It's a real mix-up. I thought the exact same thing.
100% thought that was Anna Faris. Wow.
I realized the last time I watched it that the Victoria's Secret cashier is Adam Sandler's wife, who also plays the woman in the bar who gets sexually harassed in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. What I did not also put together is at the very beginning of the movie, when there's like a woman crying and he stops and hands a bag to the little girl that's crying, that woman is his wife, Kevin James' wife, who also cameos in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 as the woman like who trips to steal the painting.
Huh.
So they just went ahead and had both
Now,
wives like, do you want to this one too?
Hold your horses, Trav.
I can defend this much in the same way as Paul Blart Mall Cop went out of the way to acknowledge that the Flintstones and Scooby-Doo exist within this film franchise. There are rich and layered backstories to both of these characters. It's no coincidence. I refuse to believe that the franchise and Happy Madison and Kevin James are so lazy as to think that people wouldn't notice the recurrence of these characters. We have to ask ourselves, what has happened to Jackie Sandler's cashier at Victoria's Secret that would then lead her to being in a high-end dive bar in Las Vegas not 6 years later? What has happened to this young mother at the mall that would then lead her to turn to a life of crime operating beneath Vincent?
I'm so glad you have brought this up, because it leads me to my third revelation regarding character overlapping. And that is that in this movie, the character at the bar singing is just named the singer, right? But then I realized that's the same actor that plays Saul Gundermott. And that's when I put it together, that he was just a singer until a drunkard threw himself through a window, creating such a scene that he said, I'm going to dedicate my life to maintaining peace and stability and safety in places like malls. And that is Saul Gundermott, who then dedicated his life.
Do you want to know something crazy?
Yeah, absolutely.
I read, I went on the IMDb because I got fucking bored and in a pretty dark mental space while watching this flick, and it has one entry for... one entry under the subtitle Goofs for Paul Blart Mall Cop 1, and it's that American Joe's doesn't have karaoke singers. That's what they got wrong in this movie.
American Joe's is a real... I've never heard of that in my entire life, and I live here.
Nor I.
What? You only found one goof? I've got in front of me on the IMDb page 51 goofs.
Oh, really?
Someone has absolutely taken to this movie with a fine-tooth comb and pulled out everything that they got wrong.
I watched it on Amazon Video, which does this sort of pop-up video thing showing you like who's in the cast that's in the movie right now. And here's some fun facts. And one of the fun facts that popped up was that this was the first movie to be released in January that raked in over $100 million during its initial release.
Fuck me. I mean, honestly.
It was also the first Adam Sandler produced movie that didn't star Adam Sandler to cross that $100 million barrier.
Oh, interesting.
What? Can you finish the plot? I mean, I feel like we got to...
Right.
There's criminals, and they want to get... I really couldn't make heads or... There's
money?
special codes they need.
They need the Black Friday money, but first they need the codes from the credit card machine, which I guess he gets while buying a birthday card for the girl that he's definitely for sure 100% stalking using the video infrastructure of the mall.
You're telling me, Griff, it does not matter how much soft and whimsical orchestral music you put underneath what's happening. Kevin James commandeering the CCTV cameras to track a mall employee is not an endearing character angle.
And I would also point out, leaving it there all day, seemingly, because when he gets back later, the video screens are still pointed at her. So, like, nobody there walked by and went, oh, this is fucking weird.
Okay, so there's criminals. They take a bunch of people hostage in the smallest room I've ever seen. And they take, which must have been a nightmare to shoot in. And then,
but hold on. Speak to the criminals a little bit, because they're a combination of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 unlockable characters and parkour fanatics.
Yes. For no reason. I mean, for literally no reason.
One of them has a gun, pulls it out way too late, but the rest of them have the concealed weaponry of basically Olympic gymnastic skills.
Yes. I believe a dirt bike is used dramatically many times. There's a lot of skateboard as weapon.
Yeah, that has got to be one of the worst villain reveals I've ever seen. It seems to me that the big plan, spearheaded by Vex Sims, was to cloak a bunch of sort of misguided youths who have reached young adulthood as Santa's little helpers. And then at a certain point, like their coordination on the way that they roll out their scheme is so piss weak. At some point he goes, all right, now. And everyone takes off their uniforms and starts doing their chosen X Games pursuit until
While
they
the
empty
mall
the
is
mall.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they first get on the PA system and tell everyone the mall's shutting early tonight. And everyone's leaving. And then they're like, all right, this is the stick up. It's like, whoa,
Right.
whoa.
Okay.
You had this. Yeah.
We cannot gloss over this because it is unfair to Neil McDonough's Vincent and his whole crew, who we have taken the piss out of, to use a New Zealand turn of phrase, for their bad crime plan. And so I think we need to really dial into what Vex Squad was planning on doing, because I want to bring up
Vec,
their...
it should be clear, was pretending to be a new hire that Paul Blart
Very
had taken
well.
under his wing.
playing it very well.
It blew
Yeah, I
me away.
never
just,
suspected.
Like, how convincingly, like there is sometimes you see in movies and like theater and stuff, TV shows, where it's like someone is lying, and we as the audience clearly know they're lying, but because it is, made up bullshit, it's okay that the other characters don't know that they're lying. He plays the Vec character so straight that when he turns, I'm like, is this the lie?
Yeah, when he's pretending to be just a regular boring guy, he does it so good that he forgets to stop doing that when it turns out he's the main villain of the film. It just continues to be the most boring human being on the face of the earth for the entirety of the 93-minute running time.
I wrote down a line he says because it blew me away. So there's the reveal, right? This trainee turns out to be this like mastermind thief. And then he goes, it's pretty crazy, right? But that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part, I'm the leader.
I'm the leader.
And then I don't think that's the craziest part. I think
A fucking 8-year-old punched up the script to put
It
that
really
line
is.
as a reveal.
Travis, I'm so glad you remembered that, because it blew me away watching, like, why, who are you announcing this to? Is there no one in the criminal gang that's like, did he just say he's the leader?
I thought it was kind of like a democracy. I
thought we were all kind of working together to rob this
So
place.
is it like you're the leader of a fledgling crime syndicate? Have a little self-esteem, dude.
I wanted one of the hostages to point out the window at somebody who was riding a bike full speed in a mall while firing a pistol in front of them at a man riding on a Segway and be like, actually, that's the craziest part. Because that's the craziest shit that's ever been in a movie before.
Is that the bit where he empties an entire clip from a handgun into a fake Paul Blart and thinks that he's like killed the real? That bit got real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Vec has these people that were proposing. It has them go to the credit card machines in the stores and write on their arm in like UV blacklight pen the machine codes so they can access everyone's credit card numbers to get $30 million.
Here's what threw me about this. I figured that all of this would make sense to you guys because I thought it was just an American thing. Because another big plot point in this movie is that it's Friday night, so everyone has to run to the bank to cash their checks, their paychecks for the week. And in New Zealand, like, that is not how we pay people.
No.
You deposit it into their fucking bank account.
Well,
I didn't know what the hell was going on. Is that a Paul Blart thing, or is this a genuine American thing?
No.
This must have been a bad. This is a while ago. I don't think
Right.
direct deposit was as much of a thing,
But I
12
can
years
say
ago or
this,
whatever.
Tim, because I don't know about you and Guy, but Justin and Griffin and I all have extensive retail experience. There is no like 7-digit code that you can punch into something and access everyone's credit card numbers.
I think what happened here is what we had is two men working on 2 typewriters for 2 days, and once again submitting independent scripts. This was written by Kevin James and someone else named Nick Bakay. who is perhaps best known for being the voice of Salem.
Yes, so he
from
also
Sabrina.
did Paul Blart Mall Cop too.
Yeah, and I feel like what might account for so many of these inconsistencies is Nick probably took care of the criminal enterprise and logistics and romantic elements of the film, and Kevin James wrote all of Paul Blart's dialogue and scenes. And
that is such a reversal of how we assumed Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 got written. We see a Windershins, we see a Foot Locker, and we assume, man, that must be Kevin just in the moment spouting off some bullshit. You are proposing that the opposite is true.
that's exactly what I'm doing. Also, you know in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 when Kevin James cries out Foot Locker as though it sort of represents some iconic moment in the franchise? Where was that?
Not reference. I mean, his daughter pretends she's worked. Rainey Rodriguez, who does not get nearly enough to do in this first film. She's very funny. She's not getting nearly enough to do. She references that she's late for her shift at Foot Locker. Rainey, very good lie. I would mention that the mall is fucking closed, so that's a wild thing to say. Unless there's the night watchman to back up the security guard at Foot Locker. I'm just like very triumphantly put you guys on my shoulders and carry you over the finish line of explaining the plot of this fucking movie.
Okay, please.
So Paul Blart gets stuck in. He gets an opportunity to leave. The woman Amy that has caught his fancy. He realizes that she's still in there because he sees her car, and he heads back into the mall. He becomes the eyes and ears of the SWAT team that is gathered around the place. This is where it actually literally is so nonsensical that it's hard to recap. But for some reason, the SWAT team coming in and shutting these guys fucking down is treated like how in some movies, like the government's going to carpet bomb this whole place and kill us all.
Yeah.
Like is treated in that fashion. Like it's never explained why it wouldn't be better for the SWAT team to come in and, you know, do the thing that the SWAT team does. They keep deciding to hang back.
It's another Die Hard. It's another Die Hard
Hard
homage, right? Because they have the FBI or whatever that like coming in the helicopter and chain gun like everybody on the roof or whatever, and they're the asshole. There's like different levels of police intervention, but it would be like if the FBI came in with their helicopter and the chain gun, and somebody said, "Oh, hold up, Bruce Willis is in there." The FBI guys are like, "Oh, okay."
Cool, got it.
Yeah, that's the wild part. All the government guys keep hanging back, and they're like, "Just let Paul handle it."
Can I try and
seems...
defend the logic underpinning why that might be the case? Because I was over the fucking moon to see my boy Bobby Carnival turn up in SWAT uniform, and we might be getting ahead of ourselves plot-wise, but it is later revealed that he, in fact, is not as he appears. He's not the leader of the SWAT team. He is inside. He's operating next to Vic as one of the criminals.
Yeah,
who
a very
wants to...
satisfying reveal that's well telegraphed through the whole film.
Yeah, absolutely. But because he is spearheading the SWAT team's involvement from outside of the mall, could we not believe that he is deliberately pausing and holding off on sending them in the hopes of helping his friend Vic execute this crime?
That's a slam dunk, guy. That's a
You've
slam
given
dunk.
this film a lot of credit, but that actually works.
I mean, you could make an argument for it until Paul Blart single-handedly kills 12 men.
Yeah, I think we give Paul a hard time for his body count in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. You shoot a man in the tummy with a concussive round that knocks him backwards into a body of water. We say something like, "Oh, well, that man has probably drowned." But there's a margin of error. There's a shadow of a doubt. Maybe they survived it. When you car bomb a rainforest cafe with 5 or 6 souls inside of it, they have died and perished. They have died just as all the robot animals inside have died.
Just to point out another parallel, the blowing up of the Rainforest Cafe is to parallel the blowing up of the roof of the Nakatomi Tower.
Yeah, it's beat for beat,
yeah, of
Trav.
course.
It's one for one.
It's beat for beat. Even the twist at the end where Bobby kind of. I always want to say he's taking me on to the bar Bobby Carnival. Bobby Carnival fucking pulls it out at the last second. You think, oh, he beat Vec. He's gonna get away. Paul Blart saved the day. Uh-oh, the FBI guy, the SWAT guy's a bad guy. Oh shoot, oh beans. And then the cop, I guess, who was the first responder to the scene, kind of like Reginald Vell Johnson in Die Hard, shoots him in the arm.
Well, no, Griffin.
Well?
Paul Blart's security guard boss draws Adam Ferrara's gun and
Yeah.
shoots him. And then Adam Ferrara, who is the first responder cop, is like, oh, give me that gun lest anyone think you shot Bobby Carnival with my gun. Like, it is a weird-ass moment.
So unhinged.
It's so
And
anticlimactic.
Before we get too far away from it, just in terms of the plot as well, was the plan, because they keep talking about the Cayman Islands, so I feel like Kevin James saw a headline about how rich people are hiding their money in the Cayman Islands and misinterpreted how it works.
I'm a rich guy.
Is there-
Why didn't anybody tell me how to hide my money?
Is their plan to take all of the hostages on the plane to the Cayman Islands and live at the Cayman Islands now?
Yes, they've horrifically misunderstood how shelter corporations work. That you have to physically be in the Cayman Islands.
He's putting the hostages on the plane with them. I'm like, is this a commune now? What's the search?
He was
Yeah.
probably going to kill them, Tim.
Why wouldn't you kill them before the plane?
No, he explicitly, he has no reason. Like, he explicitly says he's taking us on a plane to the Cayman Islands.
That's true. And also, I don't know if you guys, maybe it was just a weird edit, but that's probably just the whole movie. There's a moment where Paul Blart, he's cornered by Vec with a gun on him to give him the phone with the codes on it, and he splashes hot sauce in his eyes and then doesn't do anything to capitalize on the moment. And then
Man, that shits me.
the thing I was watching then just cut to Vec leading Maya and Amy out, and like 30 seconds later, Paul Blart following him. So not only he didn't tie him up, he didn't kill him, which he has said numerous times he's going to do.
Did you have the line, I really should have capitalized on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, no, you saw the real one.
Yeah, but then
That's
Yeah,
just
that's the
movie.
real movie that they made. But it's just another example of like, and I know that getting bothered about inconsistency in the Paul Blart movie, but the inconsistency that I'm getting at is actually not like, oh, just let it go, it's a comedy. It's these weird moments where it feels like Kevin, and I feel like we talked about this with Paul Blart Mall Cop too, where like Kevin James said, like, I want to be kind of like a real cool guy in this scene. And they're like, okay, in this scene, there's like, he does his fitness test at the very beginning for the like state trooper or state police, their training program, and he like is crushing it. He's jumping through the tires, he's walking on the balancing beams, he does all of it very well, except eventually because of his hypoglycemia he passes out, which is not how that works as I understand it, but still that happens. Then later he's playing a game where he has to jump hurdles and he fails at every single one, and it's a big goof. And then later when he's doing like action sequences, this man like rigs an impromptu explosive device and like single-handedly like destroys all these people, and then later on, 30 seconds later, he's absolutely incompetent. And it's not done for like, there's no joke, because the stakes are just completely changed. It really does feel like Kevin James wanted to feel cool from time to time. I just wanted it to be his cool guy moment.
I think you're right.
There is
reveal when he's in the cop uniform as well. That's very much like, I want this in the trailer. I look good in this outfit.
There is a moment where he is, to your point, J-Man, where he has just missed the van, right, and fallen off the side of the road. And he runs at a fence that's probably 8 feet high, maybe, and leaps it, seemingly in single bound. And it's all in one shot. And that is Kevin James. Unless they spent money doing, like, video effects to make it look like him, it's Kevin James leaping that 8-foot fence.
Are you suggesting that Kevin James can jump 8 feet into the sky,
Well,
Travis?
he doesn't, like, clean leap it. He, like, kind of vaults it.
Okay.
But it is definitely him. And watching the movie, I think it's the only bright point in the movie for me is I watched it and went, oh, nice, Kevin James.
Okay.
I would love maybe next time there's a global pandemic, maybe we dip into Here Comes the Boom starring Kevin James, because I suspect, to Justin's point, it is this phenomenon of Kevin James like, aren't I a big idiot? But I'm gonna fucking get these guys with my strength. Like, because this movie does tease that so many times where he's like, Vec is like, oh yeah, well now I'm gonna kill your daughter. And he's like, I'm gonna make you pay. It's like, that wasn't a joke. Wait a minute, Kevin, are you being cool right now? I think Here Comes the Boom, the movie where he becomes a UFC fighter, is that for 105 minutes, which is the runtime of Here Comes
it's very
the Boom.
sweet in these ones how they counterbalance that with him getting, him picking up a lollipop off the ground, or in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, for example, him letting an ice cream essentially come all over his face.
Yeah.
There's a real sort of sense of light and shade to these films that, you know,
Well,
you got to take your hat off.
He's not a superhero. He's just a man. You know, he's just a man out there.
Just
you know,
a man.
For
Except when they need him to be a superhero to make a scene work, and in which case then he becomes a superhero.
Yeah. I would like to now. Okay, so then basically everything's nice, and then he and Amy get married in the mall.
He wins at the end. There's a terrible, one of the worst, like, the last 3 minutes of this movie are so fucking first the Bobby Carnival reveal that like he was also a bad guy, and then he does the bit with Vec where he pretends to pass out, or does pass out maybe, and then just sweep kicks, and he's like, I told you I'd take you down. It's like, oh wow,
Okay.
rough.
It was great
Rough.
that they included
Good.
that line of dialogue, because if they hadn't, I wasn't clear as to why exactly Paul Blart had anything against that character. The wedding in the credits, and the fact that the entire first half hour of the movie sets it up as a romantic comedy between Paul Blart and I can't remember the character's name. I'm so sorry.
Amy.
Amy.
Come on, man.
Amy.
Respect yourself.
It just made it, all I could think at the end of it was like, it was so obvious they were going to get together. And then how crazy it is, I guess it almost works as a bold attempt to joke at the start of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, but like how in the first 30 seconds of that movie, they take away something they worked so hard for in the first movie. Like, they kill...
Yeah, but did they really earn it, though? Maybe they realize... Here's what I think. I think it's kind of like they stole that relationship from the candy store, and then someone caught them and they felt so guilty. They're like, we should put this back. We actually didn't earn this relationship. Let's go ahead and destroy it.
It's even darker than that, because the contempt with which Kevin James treats his own leading man character in these films is like a level of self-loathing that really fucking troubles me.
It's disturbing, genuinely.
Constant jokes about his own physical appearance, which, Justin, like, you laid this out in, I think, the most recent deathBlart episode. Like, that is his physical body. That's not an act. That's not a goof. That's the physical form he's walking around God's green earth in. And in this movie, there's so many jokes like that. And then they finally kind of reward that, because he's got a good heart. Paul Blart is many things. He's a buffoon. He's, got a lot of impulse control issues. He's apparently some sort of alcoholic, in addition to being a combination narcoleptic and hypoglycemic. But at his core, he's coming from a good place. But they still fuck him up emotionally all the time. Like, they finally give him this reward of this beautiful relationship he's been looking for so long through dubious methods. And then she bails. We find out in the opening minutes of this movie that his first love of his life used him for immigration status and left him with a child. And then they fucking kill his mother, who's the only person who's looked after him his entire life. Like, just the treatment of this character really it gets to me.
It's savage. Did you guys at any point start to key into the music of this movie?
Yeah.
Did it start to get... Music always sort of... I'm not somebody who really notices music as much. It kind of blends into the background for me. This soundtrack is so specific and present. Every single song feels like you're in Adam Sandler's car.
Yes.
And he's like, wait, you've never heard of Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Band? Hold on. We got to fix that. Wait, you've never heard Mr. Blue Sky by Electric Light Orchestra? We got to fix that right now. And like, every song is that exact same.
Let me put the top
very
down.
narrow sliver. Yeah, top down dad rock. It is brutal, and it is every 3 minutes. There's like a huge crashing like Detroit Rock City by Kiss and Think I'm in Love by Eddie Money. It's like
whether it's appropriate to the scene or not. Sometimes it's just like the song
doesn't
that's
matter.
playing.
I wonder can you buy the Paul Blart Mall Cop soundtrack on the compact disc?
You almost certainly can.
I don't know if you can. I'll investigate it while I mention one other thing. Early in the movie, his mom or his daughter forces him to make an online dating profile with the help of his mom. And his mom's like, to beef it up, I added that video you made last year. And there's a brief video of Paul Blart Mall Cop doing in his civvies, doing Segway stunts set to the tune of Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Band. And while I was sitting there, I was like, this isn't funny, so I have some time to think while I'm not laughing. What exactly was the purpose of this film when he originally got someone to shoot this video of him doing Segway? Imagining this, there's a lot of sad things in this movie. Imagining this man sitting hunched over on his Lenovo, editing together video of him fucking doing Segway tricks while he tries to figure out how to import a MIDI file of Frankenstein. This is the fucking saddest shit ever for no one. I mean, making it for no one makes me so fucking sad, honestly.
The sadness of this movie is kind of undeniable, and that's something that I don't know that we've touched on in this recap of it. The general tone of this film is much more, compared to Paul Blart 2, I would call it somber.
Yes.
There's no camaraderie. There's no friendship. It's just everyone dumping on the lead character.
If you compare, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 has the setting of like they're in Vegas at this. Here's the thing. I think I figured it out, right? There's a moment that it really stood out to me is in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, everyone at the security expo has bought into the importance of security, right? They're all on board with it. And in this movie, there are numerous times where Paul Blart is trying to like pal around with the other security guards even, and they're like, fuck you, dude. And you're like, oh, he is so alone in his belief in this that it's actually very sad that he has committed so hard to this that he has driven the rest of society away. Whereas in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, he finds camaraderie amongst other outcasts like himself.
Yeah. Even Alan Covert, who is at the very bottom end of the rung of Adam Sandler's lackey's ladder, is cast as an intellectual superior or a cooler person than Paul Blart. He plays the very dismissive other security guard. And I guess that is where a lot of the joy of Paul Blart, as you were just saying, Travis, does derive, is that at least it's a group of like-minded security guards where they can finally escape the sort of indifference of their colleagues, of their disappointed sort of colleagues who are reaching for the middle. And finally, it's the high achievers of the security team.
It goes beyond the narrative and setting of the film, though, because for me, the difference between Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 is a big movie with lots of huge fucking swings at jokes, and 90% of them don't even come close to landing. And so you see that, and it's like, first couple watches, it's really hard to see the forest for the trees because all you see is that the 90% of failures, but they swing so hard that 10% really sticks it. In this one, they don't swing very hard, I think, for a lot of jokes beyond segue and fat-shaming humor, and it still has the same failure rate, and so that's even less enjoyable. I think a good illustration of that is in the first few minutes of the movie, he kills a dog with his Segway. And that is one version of the joke. The other version of the joke is that he gets in a fist fight with a large exotic bird while a man plays piano in the background.
Yes.
That is the difference between Paul Blart Mall Cop 1, which is just like, hey, he killed a dog. In Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, it's like the Shadow Man is going to very sort of ambivalently play the piano while he fist fights a large exotic bird. Right. And that to me is like, that's good. Like, that's good. You tried so hard.
And that's so true. And that actually just triggers for me. There's a book called Save the Cat, which is like the Bible to screenwriting when you're starting out to learn how to do story and character. And it's all about how you want to set up your lead character so the audience has an investment in them by doing something nice. The golden example they give is rescuing a cat out of a tree. And this movie's so bad at everything that they do the literal opposite in the opening scene by getting the lead character to kill a dog.
Yeah, I did also want to say, just to touch on it, because I don't want to run out of time without talking about it. As we touched on earlier, not only did Vec's plan make me long for the days of Vincent's plan, Vec himself also made me long for Vincent because where I believe Vec is trying to put on a character of I'm crazy and unpredictable. He's working really hard. Like I wanted a moment where his lackeys
Absolutely
might pull
not.
him aside and say, "Hey, I think you're trying to convince us that you're like crazy, but you just seem really stressed out. Are you okay? Are you cool? Because you're being, listen, can I be honest, pretty mean?" And I think that it's coming. I think you're lashing out. I think it's coming from a place of you see the plan kind of going badly. Whereas Vincent, I think, might be legitimately unhinged. And I think it took this movie for me to appreciate it.
But it's not even. This is a perfect illustration of the two different comedy tones of this movie. Where in this one, the comedy tone is this guy is being really sarcastic to his skateboard criminal lackeys. And in the second one, it's Neil McDonough is going to like shout about how he wants to fuck a banjo. Like that's so much bigger of a swing,
Well, yeah.
and it represents a lot of other big swings that fucking
sense
fail.
If you look at the lag between the release of the two films, Paul Blart Mall Cop 1, 2009, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, something no one asked for, 2015. That is
Holy
6 years
shit.
of dreaming up
Oh, yeah.
all sorts of crazy scenarios and massive swings, as you've said, Griff, and executing on 10% of them. Also, to answer your question, Tim, while I don't know whether or not you can buy Paul Blart Mall Cop, the soundtrack, on compact disc,
I'm just saying Mother's Day is coming up.
it is available as a Spotify playlist. It has 617 followers. It was created in the year 2017.
Wow.
And
by Justin McElroy.
The blurb is best actor, best costume design, best original screenplay. Paul Blart Mall Cop did not win any of these awards, yet it stays in our hearts. Let this playlist take you back to a simpler time, a time when Americans everywhere realized that fat humor is always funny. Safety never takes a holiday.
Kira O'Donnell is Kira O'Donnell, although he does have birthday of November 8th, just like me and Travis.
Oh, wow.
He is, I think, a large part of the reason. Well, no, I don't want to be mean to poor Kira, but he's a big part of the reason this movie doesn't work. I feel like he made no choices. In his performance in this film,
He is Vec. You can't just say the dude. It's Vec. This man is Vec. I don't think we've set up that's who played Vec.
Sorry, yes. This is the actor playing Vec. And he's done a lot of other stuff where I'm assuming he did have to work in his acting. And it is just so... the fact that he can't just get a gun and go shoot fucking Paul Blart right in his heart really takes the wind out of this character's sails. I don't know how many times he's like, I'm going to shoot him. Or he tells somebody else, go shoot this guy.
Shoot him.
It's just a mall. Just find him and shoot him.
It's
I mean,
kinda
just go kill him if you...
It does kind of feel like a little kid playing it, being like a robber, like, I'm going to shoot
Yes.
you.
It's like if Keanu Reeves was playing Jesse Pinkman.
Yes, it is. Well, the Aaron Paul comparison is especially, I think, sort of poignant, I think, for this character's performance. I have wanted to talk about the fucking plan that they have had for keeping people out of the mall beyond hostages, right? The plan of don't come in here or else we'll kill these innocent people. So, tale as old as time, man. Gets the job done, I guess. The other thing that they have, the other heat they have going, to take it back to Nakatomi Tower. Nakatomi Tower, they got hostages, don't come in here, we'll kill everybody on this floor of this big, big building. The other thing they have is that when they try to drive fucking tanks into the lobby, they have rocket launchers, which they use to shoot downwards and kill fucking, like, everybody trying to get in the building. Pretty rock solid. This guy's version of this is they set up motion detectors on every door, which at one point Paul Blart leaves, setting off the motion detector, and then comes back in, setting off the motion detector with nothing happens. Then after that happens, some SWAT or some police guys try to go in, and the motion detectors set off flash grenades that blow up once. And then they run away because they get scared of it. And then later, like literally 20 minutes later, Maya, Paul Blart's daughter, just walks in, setting off the motion detector. And, like, they just kind of happen upon her, so I guess nobody was looking at the motion detectors
Also,
at that point.
While we're talking about the motion detectors, let's not forget that at one point they have tasked one of their members of their crew to watch the security camera footage, and they do, and identify someone in the mall through it. And as soon as they've served that one function, they decide to destroy them with a skateboard. It's like...
It's nonsense.
And that is also that guy's skateboard. He seems like he loves that. He skateboards a lot. Why is he using that as a tool to smash electronics? Like, that is your skateboard, man. You should take care of it.
I think if you don't have the motion detectors on the doors, then you don't get to have my favorite on-screen performance, which was the Sony Vaio UX, which was an ultra-portable PC that came out in, I think, 05, which was truly groundbreaking. And unfortunately, the series never took off because I think they were very expensive to engineer. But I am talking about the whole power of a PC in one hand, like a full PC.
Wow.
Really revolutionary product, and it was just a joy to see it on screen.
I've just been thinking, Griffin, you made me think that this movie, I think, would be at least 30 or 40% better if they added a scene at the beginning that was just Vex Sims watching Die Hard and going, huh. And that was all. Then at the end, it was like, I probably could have planned better. I probably shouldn't have based this off Die Hard.
I should have had a plan.
So in conclusion, I had a great time watching it. Like I had a fun time. It's like a fun. No, it's not. It is quite boring. I would rather watch a big bad movie than a small, quiet bad movie like this movie.
It feels weird to say it is less of a movie than Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Insane.
Where to Griffin's credit,
Absolutely
the swings are bigger in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. The scenery, the set piece, like both the literal set pieces and like this like setting up of the scene is bigger. Like this movie is nothing.
Can I talk? I don't want to close this out because I'll never watch this film again. And God willing, and the creek don't rise, I'll never discuss this film again. So I did want to hit on one thing at the end of the film. We've established at one point that it's Amy's birthday and nobody's going to get her a birthday card, and Paul gets her a birthday card. And while he's defending the mall, and while his daughter is, hey, I don't know if there's any parents out there, or like non-parents, I guess more specifically. I don't know if you know exactly what it's like to have kids, but one thing that you'll find when you have kids is that if somebody takes them prisoner in a mall, you typically, this is kind of a parenting tip from me to you typically don't go birthday shopping for a woman you barely know while your kid is being held hostage. It's just one thing you should probably
Justin,
work on.
Along those same lines, would you stop and meticulously eat a Hershey Kiss while your child was being held hostage? Or
That's fucking different, you absolute moron. He needs the sugar to function, as we established.
You fucking dipshit. Travis, is this about to be the
What?
big
Sorry.
scandal of our podcast that comes out that Travis has never even watched the fucking movie before? Liar, idiot.
In this episode of Paul Blart, I did want to mention, because I never want to I never want to talk about this movie again. At the end, he gets her a birthday card, and he reveals the birthday card to her. And I don't know if you guys took the time to read this card, or, as I did, took the time to take a screenshot of it with your phone, because the contents of the card are this. First off, it says, "You are the one" on the outside, which, fuck me, Paul. Bud, you need to calm down. You had time to look at them. I saw you put one back. Here's what he writes in the middle, in the inside. Amy, you are like a great meal. You make me feel stuffed, ellipses, with feelings.
oh wow,
Double exclamation point, double underline. You make me feel stuffed with feelings. Plus, I don't need to unbutton my pants. Paul. Now, that is...
Wow.
That's really rough. But there is, because it is this... They're in a sort of semi-relationship right now. That last line feels like kind of a threat also.
Yeah,
or like a brag. Like, one thing is to love you. I don't need to unbutton my pants. We can have a chaste love where I love you from afar. I can just watch you on security cameras and know that you're mine.
We're kind of wrapping up, and this is ending in a dark place. But like, this is the thing about this movie: all the other characters, with the exception of the SWAT leader, and I'm talking about Amy specifically right now. They react in a way that I would expect humans to react. Like, Paul Blart just comes at her so hot through the whole movie, constantly harassing her, telling her random fucking facts about her car.
Mansplaining.
That's actually in the list of 51 goofs, Tim. It's actually a 1966 Mustang, not 1965.
Thanks, Guy. Really proving yourself to be the hero in this year, 2020, that all the women need. So she's kind of doing the thing to keep herself safe and laughing it off politely while she can make a clean exit. And then the movie ends with just the perfect time to hit on a woman, which is when they're being assessed for injuries by the police with this fucking unhinged card. Like, God damn it, Kevin James.
He's got a good heart, though. We've established Paul Blart has a good heart. You can't.
Yeah.
He's got a good heart, though.
I can't take that back.
I have one final thought I want to share about this movie because it bothered me then and it bothers me now both times I've watched it. At the end, the New Jersey State Police are like, all right, you're in if you want. And he says no. And he says no. And it makes me so mad.
It's the hero's journey. The hero leaves home, sacrifice something, which apparently is the lives of 4 skateboard enthusiasts, and returns back home evolved and changed.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is he doesn't even consider the benefits. Is there a raise? He's raising a daughter. What does it provide him more job
so
security?
fucking crass of you, Travis.
The skateboard guys. There is one bit, by the way, where one of the skateboard criminals, Paul Blart, is going up a glass elevator in the interior of the mall. One of the skateboard guys takes a flying leap onto the side of the elevator, is knocked off the elevator, and falls to his death.
Yep.
And I don't know how much they are paying these guys, but I don't think it's the kind of money where they take a flying leap at an elevator and then fall to their deaths. They're playing really fast and loose with their own safety, and they know how dangerous Paul Blart is.
Well, they did.
You ever notice how his last name sounds like a burp?
Yeah.
And a fart. It's pretty good stuff.
It's another great joke.
Oh man, I didn't even talk about the giant ball pit in the middle of the
Well, then I guess we're gonna have to
like 15 foot by 15 foot, like gigantic ass
same
ball pit.
CGI ball
time
pit.
next year, guys. There's a lot of ground we left uncovered. To wrap up, because we do need to get going, I do want to say, unironically, fucking stoked to watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 and talk about it with you guys here in like 7 months.
Yeah, cleanse the palate.
It'll be so nice.
If for some reason this is your first episode of this podcast, please go back and listen to the other ones. It is, turns out, a superior movie to this one. So that's at least one movie somewhere that it's superior to. So we'll keep going.
I want to go back and re-listen to our thoughts after watching Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 the first time, because I think we're probably pretty down on it, and I want to just like travel back in time and slap some sense into myself and be like, you don't know how fucking good you've got it. You don't get the you don't get the big bird fight in this one. You don't get the dirty banana in this one.
Well, I guess I'll see you guys at the Pancake Festival, which again I assume is a real thing that happens in America, referenced in the film. It's been a joy going down this road with you all. Closing thoughts, Guy Montgomery?
I just want to know, is there a franchise in America called Legal Seafoods?
Yes.
That is such a good name for a business. Nothing to see here, just some seafoods that are totally legal.